Thanks for tuning in to Healthy Planet One, where we discuss healthy living from experts in each of their fields. This is your host, Patricia Starr.
And your co-host, Kimberly Knock. Today's guest on Healthy Planet One is Dr. Renee. Dr. Renee is a star here in Sarasota, by the way. He is a board-certified acupuncture physician.
Thank you.
An author of many articles, and he has won many favorite acupuncture physician of the year awards here in our local area. He was born in Macau, China. I think I said that right.
Yes, he
he's
did.
been involved in Chinese medicine for over 40 years. So he brings a wealth of knowledge in his early training taking place in China. He really looks at solution-oriented. So he's our main primary acupuncturist here in town at the Chinese Medical Solutions Acupuncture and Healing Center, which is right near Sarasota Memorial Hospital. He really specializes, I know, I've heard, in cancer care, trauma, allergies, and fertility, but he's really focused on those natural, ways to really improve your health. And so thank you so much, Renee, for sharing your time with us today and opening up your schedule.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we know that today's topic really is keeping healthy and boosting your immune system naturally. That is so important right now. I mean, I'm sharing that with my clients. Other physicians are talking about it. So talk to us about the body as a natural healer.
Yeah, if you think about as we look back in our life, there are many examples we can see of how our body heals ourselves. Let's look at right now as we're dealing with the coronavirus, and correlate that to flus. Think back when you were a kid growing up, if you got sick, what did your parent tell you to do? Go to the room, get some rest, drink plenty of fluids, rest, and then let your body heal itself. So, and then also think about another thing. It's like when let's say you take a knife and you accidentally cut your skin and you create an opening. Well, what happens? The blood starts gushing out. Why does this blood gush out? Why does the blood gush out? It's because the blood contains a lot of healing cells, killer cells to prevent infection and prevent it from getting worse. So your body automatically knows how to take care of itself. Your body will also tell you what you need to do and what it is deprived of. For example, okay, you hear about pregnant women when they're carrying the baby. At a time, all of a sudden, they may have gone from a big sushi eater to all of a sudden not wanting to be near seafood and feel nauseous around seafood. In these situations, the body is telling the mother, hey, seafood may be a little poisonous, may be a little toxic. It may have stuff that can damage the fetus. So the body then causes a reaction in the smells and the other nervous part of the body to prevent the mother from getting close to something that can harm the baby. So the body naturally takes care of you. And the keeper of us, the keeper of our health, what keeps us healthy is the immune system. And what is that? That is just your basic circulation, your blood. That's why when you go to get blood work, what they look at your RBCs, your white blood cells, your red blood cells, your platelets, etc. And then they look and see for the count of the white blood cells to determine if you have any kind of infection or things going on. So for us to keep healthy, we need to have a very strong and stable and smooth circulation system.
Yes. And so you're talking about the immune system, and I've been talking to my clients about that. I think, I was fortunate enough actually to have a doctor that was a traditional Chinese doctor. So I got connected to my body. So talk about that connection. I think that maybe some of us have lost that connection and they don't have faith in their body. How can you comment on that?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct, especially in the United States. I remember exactly this time last year, I went to Europe and I spent about almost a month in Europe with my wife and daughter. And the thing that was really glaringly noticeable when I came back to the United States and was at the airport was in Europe, there was an absence of pharmaceutical ads. I went through a whole month in Europe. I said, something's different. Well, There were no ads about like you have to take Cipro, you have to take some Balta, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the moment I got off the plane in Miami, from the plane over to the counter at immigration, I was hit with banner after banner of ad, take this, take that, and what the realization of that was, we have steered away from learning to help our body naturally to being brainwashed into just being reliant on medication.
Yeah.
Now, medication is extremely powerful, don't get me wrong. When done correctly, let's say you have a very pounding, splitting pain in the throat, you can't even talk. Well, with medication, you can come in and pretty much help relieve that symptom in no time, very fast. That is wonderful. But don't stop there. You still need to find out what caused that throat to be painful. You figure that out, and then you fix that. Now your throat pain becomes permanently gone. And I think that's the part that is missing, that we're no longer, how do you call it, taught to think in terms of having our body heal itself, try and figure out what's causing the problem versus just waiting till you get the big symptom, severe issues, and then use medication to treat that.
Right.
That I think is where the real issue is.
It absolutely is. Now, I grew up with a mom who was a nurse, and we used to go to the doctor and get stuff, and it was our neighborhood doctor. But when I started allowing my body, listening to it, getting connected to it, and just kind of, drink fluids, like you said, you go in bed, you drink fluids, you let your fever work as long as it's not too high. Your body is helping itself. And then you start to feel empowered when you get that response and hey, I'm fine. I don't need to take down the Tylenol, the cough medication and stuff. I can actually heal. And that's a powerful thing. But like you said, we're not really trained here. So you must deal, your clients must get a sense of empowerment just working with you like I got.
Yeah, they do. In fact, using the coronavirus as a great example, since January, I've been very following the coronavirus situation in China very closely because I have family and friends there, so I have a personal interest in that. And since January, I've been trying to tell people, you got to boost your immune system, you got to boost your immune system. And since January, I've been telling people that a coronavirus starts hitting the body via the lungs. So I've been telling people things that they can do to strengthen the lungs, because if you can prevent the coronavirus from getting into your body deep, then you don't have to worry about all the organ failures, the diabetes, the heart attacks, the strokes, and things like that, okay? But when you look at what has been educated here in the United States in terms of general public of how to deal with COVID-19, you hear the same thing. Wash hands, face masks, social distancing. Where is the message in terms of boosting your immune system? If the public was taught how to, for example, what causes the lungs to be weakened, everyone knows that. You know that. Yeah. For example, if you go into a bar that's smoky, what's going to happen? You're going to cough like crazy, right? So dryness and smoke affects the lungs. So therefore, in return, what do? You try to keep your lungs moist and hydrated. That alone will help the lungs keep healthy. So it's those types of things that I think we've lost here in the society because people are not taught to think like that.
I think that's excellent, Dr. Renee. And I know from a Chinese perspective, it's similar. My training is in Ayurveda. This is Patricia. Mm-hmm. And in Ayurveda, we look at how to keep the body in balance, which is very similar to Chinese medicines, I understand. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Very, very similar.
And I love that. That's been the same question is, why are we not addressing the immune system in this country? Now, I understand in China, when this COVID started coming in, they were talking about vitamin C. They were talking about other ways to help the immune system. Am I right there?
You are absolutely correct, and I can talk a lot to that. In China, you have to picture this. Okay, we can get an idea of what it was like in China back in December, late December, beginning of January, when this thing just hit China like a major tidal wave. Remember, we now have about 3 or 4 months of actual experience with COVID-19 here in the United States. Uh-huh. Picture if you didn't have that experience. All of a sudden, you get hit with this disease, this virus. And in the hospitals, you are seeing 10 to 15,000 patients a day. Okay, coming in, all kinds of symptoms. They look like flu, but they're not. People are dying. People can't breathe. There's no ventilators. I mean, think about the pandemonium. So what did they do? They went out and looked towards every single corner. Western medicine, Eastern medicine. They brought in Eastern medicine because SARS, the other acute respiratory disease that happened, a while back, had a lot of similar properties to COVID-19. So they start looking, okay, SARS, they use a lot of things from Chinese medicine. So they adopted a lot of formulas, even in hospitals, for treating this disease, not because they believed in it, but because they were desperate. They had no option. And then they also reached out and said, okay, what else works? Let's see. Okay, the vitamin C is good for boosting immune system. Let's do it. Vitamin D, let's do it. Zinc, let's do it. So they were doing everything, including, you see pictures of doctors, Western doctors inside the hospitals, practicing Qigong and breathing because they're using that to strengthen the immune system so that they don't catch the virus. Now, one thing is also interesting, in the United States now, they're uncovering two big drugs. I can never pronounce it, hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine, and there's remdesivir. So those two, okay? So if you think about that, what are those drugs for? They're not for COVID. They're not for coronavirus. They are for malaria. Why? Do you ever think about why it was malaria? Go back to Chinese medicine. In China, in January, they started finding some of the herbal formulas being effective in containing COVID and actually weakening COVID. Well, these formulas had a number of individual herbs inside there. So when the doctors, both Western and Eastern, went and started dissecting these, they say, it's interesting. As the Western doctors started thinking, they say, it's interesting. You have these herbs. If these two herbs, like for example, one of them is a Xingma herb is specifically the number one herb for malaria, but it's inside these formulas. So the Western medicine-based Chinese doctor who doesn't understand much about Chinese medicine looks at the herb and says, interesting, if they have these herbs in there for treating malaria, what if I started using some drugs that I use to malaria? Would I not get the same result?
Wow.
Right? So then they came up with hydroxy whatever, and the remdesivir. Yeah, exactly. And if you really take a look at what they did, they actually had over 10, I think it was 11 different Western drugs used in India, Korea, Taiwan, China. A big part of those were coming for malaria, whooping cough, high fever, febrile diseases. A lot of them were coming from that. And then when the COVID-19 first came to the United States and the West Coast, and if you look at the history going back to February, the treatments, the first group of patients that came in the West Coast, in the Seattle area, they were using remdesivir. And then over time, they found, well, the remdesivir isn't as effective. Then they started using hydroxychloroquine. And then they found that being effective, and then more and more doctors started using that. So it's not surprising that today they're looking at both hydroxychloroquine and remdesivir as the two go-to drugs.
So it sounds like you rely, should ask this question, do you rely a lot on herbs? And another point that I wanted to make, because you mentioned early on that you want to create a strong, stable, smooth circulation. And you're equating circulation as your immune system. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. Because the blood flow, the circulation contains, especially in the white blood cells, all those lymphocytes, all those IgGs, IgAs, IgEs. Those are the ones that are helping your body fight against allergies, fight against infections and things. They are all inside your white blood cell. So when you look into that, it's crucial for the person to have good circulation. I'm going to counterpose a question to you. Let's look at the individual human being. When they're in their teens and 20s, okay, unless they have some kind of underlying diseases, which, it's usually pretty rare, these people are like they're like Superman. You hear about kids, you kids, you
Right.
think you're super, right? They go out, in the freezing cold, they take their shirt off and they're